Hello, everybody. Welcome. 1st of February, and we are back with Anna Achimowicz from Rockland Theater. I think it's time to Let's Rock Live with Anna today, and we are opening this new series with a post-NAMM kind of a twist. We have this lineup of discussions, basically, which are supposed to trigger some new innovative ideas, how live shows are going to come back in 2021. And today, over in the studio, if you guys are watching on YouTube, on Facebook Live, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and all of those good platforms of your own choice, Twitter TV as well, and Twitch, we are as professional as that. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, the likes, the follows, all of that good stuff, so that we get that out of the way, so that I can invite my wonderful guest today, which is Sean Giovanni from over in Nashville, Tennessee, from the Record Shop. We are gonna be discussing today everything in a nutshell that has been good and what was creative, what happened in 2020, but also how to involve our comeback into live shows, into creativity, within a crisis. So that should be very interesting, guys. Thank you so much for joining in and for tuning in. And without further ado, I would like to pop in from the green studio over onto our live over here, Sean Giovanni himself.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi, good to have you. Yeah, I'm good. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today on Let's Rock Live with Anna. And let me just start off with how fun was the Believe in Music NAMM week, don't you think?
Yeah, it was a blast. It was incredibly different than what I'm used to. Every year in winter NAMM, we go out to California. Summer NAMM's here in Nashville, and it's really great to be able to hang in person with people. And this year was definitely different. I was super happy that the NAMM organization decided to put together Believe in Music Week, because it gave us all an opportunity to still connect, just in a little bit of a different way. But the platform that they built for it was so innovative, with being able to have access to
good. Exactly.
all of the content, and also to be able to interact with people. They built this whole ecosystem within the platform, so it was more than just like watching content. And the cool thing about it is that all the stuff is still going to be up for like another month for people to jump on and see.
Exactly. Yeah, 28th of February, I think they said. Which was like, for me, I was like, oh my God, like now you tell me, and I was literally on the schedule doing all of the lives, joining all of the panels. Like, I gotta tell you, as much as I always get tired, like exactly, as you said, with the live situation, you bump into people, you try to network and like get everybody's business cards and exchange your own, you get tired from talking, right? But I really broke a sweat from clicking a tab to tab. I kid you not, because I wanted to attend as much as I can. I'm this kind of greedy person that is greedy for all of the experiences and, all of the knowledge and the great stuff that has been happening. I don't know about you. I basically called it Facebook for musicians and for, performing artists that they did. It was really awesome. And also you, Sean, actually, you did lead a small little master series, if you will, about creativity and opportunity in crisis, which thank you so much for hosting that. That was really cool. And like literally, this is the very beginning kind of why I hit you up, to be honest. I tuned in and I thought this is so cool and so inspiring, for all of our viewers, all of the other, performing artists that are still stuck at home in quarantine, to kind of listen about your perspective and your experience, within creativity, within the last year of 2020, which was a little bit alternative from what we know. Tell me, Sean, in a nutshell, because when I start like these kind of talks and podcasts or live streams, if you will, 2020 was a little bit like a interview kind of thing, tapping back into the history, talking about, inspiration and current projects, throwing in shameless plugs, if you will. But this year kind of felt like a call to action for me, to bring everybody on board and basically kind of apply the experience from the NAMM panels, because a lot has been said. Tell me, Sean, what was kind of the home take message for you out of the whole week? I don't know how much you attended aside of your own panel, but tell me what struck kind of you as a person in the creative side of the music world, and not only. What was kind of the home take message for you?
I think the idea that people and creatives in general still have a great sense of optimism about the future. And as creatives, we're always looking for ways to evolve, both creatively within our own art, but just emotionally as human beings. And that's kind of how creative folks are wired. So seeing everyone in that community very excited about seeking out new knowledge and new ways of doing things and ways to maybe evolve what we used to do. I think that was really what I took away from it. Just that there's a lot of really great energy in our community that's ready to push forward and see things change and start to work back to whatever the new normal becomes in the coming months.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I really loved about your talk, describing, and of course, I'm gonna head you over the mic in a second, and you tell me and us more watching basically what the perspective is. But something that you said personally, exactly about that element of thriving and kind of finding all possible ways to reinvent, which, well, basically all of us were kind of thrown into without an instruction paper, without a manual, like a card from IKEA, how to put A, B, and C together. You said something about that human element, exactly, that you do not kind of focus on the negative side of things, on how much things are different, but you kind of get that impulse and flip it around into, number one, motivation, but also a kind of a running engine for creativity and for spiking that creativity, kind of judging your parameter, seeing what the conditions are and what you can implement to make a positive out of that. Tell me a little bit, Sean, about your personal journey within the last year. Where were you kind of in the middle of when the pandemic struck, and what did you kind of recreate around your own environment to kind of keep doing what you're doing? Because from what we know about you, and what I really admire is what you self-called yourself a sonic storyteller, which, well, I'm going to give you the mic. Explain what a sonic storyteller is.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, so when pandemic first started in Nashville, was lockdown. They said for a few weeks. It lasted about a month, and then we weren't able to have our doors open. At first, I felt a little bit of relief because we had a moment to be able to take care of things around the studio that we normally didn't do. There was a little bit of downtime. It was kind of like a forced vacation, which we have a hard time really ever taking a break. So we're so excited about all the work that we get to do. So, but that only lasted for so long, a few days, a week. And then you start wondering, well, how long is this going to last, and what can we do to survive? Because we have to be able to maintain revenue and keep things coming in. And how do you survive as a recording studio when you can't let people in the doors? So we started thinking about all the things that we could do remotely. And we set up a way to be able to deliver a mobile recording studio to our clients' homes so they could set it up, and then we could control it remotely. That way, they would be able to have high quality, like commercial studio quality equipment to record through, as opposed to maybe using their home rig and then having us operate it that way. And I thought that was a strong way for us to be able to evolve the idea of remote work while still giving our clients that prefer to have the commercial studio sound or experience coming in and working with us. So we did that. And then we started looking into how we could start providing production for live stream events. I recognized quickly that live shows weren't going to be happening for quite a while, but artists still needed to find a way to get in front of their fans, both to be able to stay connected with them for their own artistic outreach, and to be able to continue to create content throughout the time. So we put together a live streaming rig to allow artists the ability to be able to come into a great studio and have really high quality sound, but also a really great visual, and the technology to be able to do it in multiple different ways on any platform, with multiple camera setups, so it could be significantly more maybe intimate or engaging than just maybe using your iPad or your iPhone and setting it up in your room. So we set up a way to have a no contact live stream studio set up. We would set up all the equipment, and then the artist would be able to enter. We wouldn't be in there. We would operate the system remotely from another space in the building, so everyone was completely separated. Then as things started to open up a little bit more, where we could have a couple people at a time in the facility, then we started expanding upon that. But those were a couple of things. And really that just stemmed from a mindset that I've come to develop over years of working in the industry and facing all kinds of incredible adversity and self-doubt and internal battles and external battles. And the idea of looking for opportunity in any type of adversity, recognizing, I personally try to recognize that I can get down and upset and look at all the reasons that something isn't going to happen. But if I switch that perspective and start to think about how can I make this happen instead of why can't this happen, it gives me a really great perspective on how to be able to push forward and stay focused on creating art, because that's what I love doing. And we don't want to get bogged down in the things that the self-limitations that we put on ourselves or that we decide that the environment is going to put on us. And so that was a big part of that discussion, was to be able to give some ideas about perspective, some exercises, some processes to go through to be able to help switch that perspective when that type of adversity strikes. And I think that in preparing that, one of the things that I recognized more and more was that as creatives, it's very easy for us as creatives to be relentless when it comes to chasing down our creative vision or the creation of art. But when we get hit with adversity outside of our creative space that may be halting us from being able to do that in a different way, say a pandemic that won't allow us to open our studio or allow us to get on stage and perform, it's as emotionally driven human beings, creatives can tend to kind of pull back and pull away from those things much quicker than they would, per se, if they were chasing down a direction, a creative direction or a sound or an idea or inspiration that they had, where in those cases they would push through with unrelenting effort. But when we have external sources around us, oftentimes we don't look at it with the same perspective that we do when we're looking at our art. And so what I tried to do in that discussion was to help evolve that perspective, to show that we can push through adversity, external adversity, the same way that we push through our internal creative adversity, if we look at things with the right perspective and have an understanding about what we want to accomplish and how pushing through that adversity will allow us to create our artistic endeavors, accomplish our artistic endeavors at a higher level.
You said a couple of really great things, and you kind of fast forwarded basically my next couple of questions, or like discussion topics, if you will. But yeah, it's funny actually how that kind of division, as you said, that when it comes to actually having a project and a direction and that sense of kind of will to challenge your own self and fight, with your elbows for whatever makes it go through to the very end of the project, starting, from the very idea to the very, kind of birth of whatever it might be, music video, stage show, song, photo shoot, conceptualize, you name it. But when it comes to an external force, all of a sudden it became a very interesting challenge, I think, psychologically, basically for people in the industry, within the live arts, because as much as, we are all bulletproof in rock and roll and, we spit blood and we do pyro and, nothing really matters. You're kind of bulletproof for the 2 hours when you're at stage, the adrenaline is high and basically it keeps you going. I mean, no pain, even over a broken lip might stop you. But when it comes to an adversity coming from the outside in, all of a sudden you're challenged to kind of face one versus the other. It's like, exactly as you said, you got to find a way how to make it happen. What is the possibility? What are the findings? And one thing that especially kind of struck me and triggered my interest out of the NAMM panels, aside of course, all of the great gear that has been showcased, all of the oral museum and the talks and the interviews, were especially the panels that were kind of these sit-in sessions of specialists in the industry, starting from recording artists to managers and tour promoters and bookers and people very much strongly in the community on the institutional side of things that have been doing this with a very established kind of system towards like basically all artists, especially freelancers that are pretty much scattered around the globe right now, kind of trying to figure out, as you say, a way or a method, not only in your own mind, how to pull things off, how to make things safe, but also to find that balance within a creative creative flow of things, if you will. Tell me, Sean, did you have to modify quite a bit your studio, your space, your recording rooms, as you said, with all of the social distancing and keeping, you know, sanitation going, and having people entering the building for all sorts of activities? Was that a big challenge in your case?
No, I wouldn't say that it's a huge challenge. I think one of the advantages we have in a recording studio environment is that it's built for people to be isolated already. So we have different rooms and booths and, you know, and that sort of thing. It did kind of change the way that we collaborated in medium-sized sessions. So if we had a session band, for example, working with an artist, normally everyone would be hanging in the control room together and going over the songs, talking
as
through
you
ideas.
do, you know, cup of coffee, and then, you know, kind of brainstorming over the thing. Yeah.
Yep. So having to stay, everyone, you know, staying more apart in that way, and just kind of communicating through talkback mics and through glass and stuff, was a little bit of a shift. But I didn't necessarily. I thought everyone was just excited to be able to keep working and keep creating. So it didn't really change too much for me. It was just a, you know, slight adjustment in some of the processes and stuff.
Great. And then wiping the console maybe one time more than you normally would, right? Yeah, I mean, it's funny, kind of like we laugh about it, that even on stage, I mean, normally drummers would be behind a plexiglass because they're so freaking loud, right? So that's kind of, that element has been there, but now, of course, you realize it has to be pushed kind of to the next level, especially for the time being, because as all of us hope, and probably you guys are in Nashville as well, that this is just a transition time and period, basically, and all of the modifications that we have to kind of implement is for the time being, to kind of make it safe, make it through, relatively keep the schedule of projects going, as you said, with live shows especially. What is your thought, Sean, about the live stream shows basically in general? Because I was kind of thinking about, you know, the symbolic gates opening when kind of tours are ready to get back, you know, venues and festivals kind of all of a sudden are ready to, within a safe kind of parameter, have artists again. Do you think that the live shows is going to be an element that are going to hang around and stick around kind of as a, I don't know, pre-tour first show, as a general rehearsal stream for the audience, or something that could be normally hosted just in venues outside their program? You know, you have an artist, a small little band that want to, let's say, perform on a Monday or, I don't know, Tuesday, which are not necessarily many main show weeks, right? Because regular people, not like us, have to work, have to go to the office, go to school, wake up, you know, in the morning. But what is your take on the live shows in general, kind of post-transition mode?
Well, I think that the technology will open up a lot of opportunity to be able to grow when things get back. So something that you mentioned was like additional content that someone wouldn't normally have. So maybe an artist is able to create an exclusive thing for their VIP fans, where they can see a small portion of their rehearsal for the big stadium tour that they're going to do. And people may pay extra for this additional access to content because of their ability to be able to get a behind the scenes look at how something comes together. As in the past decade or so, as social media became a main driving force of entertainers and influencers in general, people went from, from decades ago, where you only can see your favorite superstar act if you actually are at their show, to being able to see anything in their life, you know, and as a different experience and different connection and type of engagement that artists have with fans now. And I think that the more that fans are able to get inside their world and feel like they're part of this community that is a part of the artist that they love so much, that artists will be able to grow that deeper relationship with their fans, and in turn grow their business and their community through it. So I think that if say live stream concerts maybe don't happen as often because now we can do them in person, that doesn't mean that technology can't be utilized for all kinds of different things. I think another thing to keep in mind is that now that venues have started to incorporate this technology to be able to bring in revenue while they can't open their doors to full shows, but they can broadcast shows from their facility, they might think about, well, now we have all of this equipment in here. The next time that regional band that comes through town that sells out their show and maybe could have sold another night of shows, or maybe not enough to be able to book a whole nother show, but now they can open up that performance to a virtual experience. So now people that maybe couldn't get into town or couldn't get the ticket and, it's sold out, now you open up your capacity to be endless in a mid-level venue, I think, which could help a lot for regional touring bands and even nationally touring artists that don't show up to the specific, small town that someone might not be able to get to the closest location where their favorite band is going to play. If more people are live streaming their tour, obviously with ticketed, events, then I think that it opens up the capacity to shows. You can sell more tickets, and fans that would normally, or that would have bought a ticket if you were coming to their town, could now experience it in that way. And I think it provides a lot of opportunity to open things up. And then I think in the studio environment, just another idea of the behind the scenes, type thing. Artists could bring people into their world a little bit in specific, moments within their rehearsals, within their recording sessions, in creating a more engaged, intimate, engaged environment with their fans. So as shows open up, I think that the technology itself will still be able to give us a lot of opportunities, and I think that maybe more ideas will come out of that through having this ability and artists recognizing the access to it. And we've had this time to really figure it all out.
Yeah. Do you think that it would be a question as well of building basically new workplaces, new work fields and teams for that specific reason? I mean, United States and Europe is kind of in a similar and interesting way going hand in hand right now of how things are scattered, right? Each state has a different governing law. Each state kind of has a different lockdown policy. Same in Europe, all of a sudden some regions in Germany are open, whereas others are closed. In Italy, similar things. So that live streaming platforms, as you said exactly, and I completely agree, opens up a whole other level for content, for connection, and especially overseas, for having the new possibility to kind of engage and participate, as far as it's an addition. I think most of us would agree that we don't want that as an exchange, because nothing beats the life experience and life thing. But do you think that it's kind of a completely new platform right now of innovation, of actually creating new workforce and new teams, just like live streamers and crews that are there behind the scenes, that are there to kind of install themselves in venues, because not all of them have the technology, obviously. Tiny, small little stages and amphitheaters even, they haven't been actually used to. They have been thrown into that as well, and they're looking for challenges. If there are companies there for their reach, of course, they do utilize them, but it's not the case with everybody. Maybe that's exactly like the moment to also form that kind of, education, right? Because you need to know how to work with the camera. And I haven't watched as much live stream shows over the course of 2020. I don't know about you, but one thing that I can say already from observing and also working professionally with the camera, because I record music videos, I have always, and I try to have a camera for recording my shows, for footage, for documentation. And even, ever since day one with the digital era, I was doing these funny little, backstage Instagram posts just to kind of see, what the world to others looks like from the other side of the spectrum. But I think the new education part of 2020 that we can implement in 2021 would be a new career, basically. What do you think? Is that a time maybe for old school camera guys and operators and script directors and camera crews to maybe start with a new profession? I don't know what the gig would be called or the occupation, but live camera streamer operator.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we've been broadcasting a lot of live streams, so I have been watching a ton of them through creating them. And when we started doing that, I had to put a team together specifically for that. And I found a specific director that has been heading up most of our live streams, and he had experience in broadcast and in dealing with like large events. So while it wasn't necessarily the live stream like we're doing it. He had experience in running all of that equipment, just using it for a slightly different purpose. So when we were able to bring it in, he knew how it all worked. The learning point or learning curve for us was how to access all the platforms that we needed to stream to, and how to set up that side of things, a little differently than like television broadcasts, for example. So as we figured that out, it's definitely been a process where I now have an entire crew that works just on those types of events. But as far as a new profession, I think it would be more like the crew that I've put together. They are all still doing different types of shooting, shooting music videos, corporate events, and not concerts yet, but the live, concerts, and creating content, documentary style stuff, shooting interviews. So someone that's already a working videographer that has those types of connections between different clients, I think that in my mind, it's an essential skill set to include in your business. Because we've seen in the corporate world, now that we've been doing this a lot, we've been providing entertainment for a lot of corporate events. And they'll be doing a presentation, and maybe the CEO is giving a talk, and they have someone doing a workshop, and then they want to keep everyone engaged, so they have a band play. And we jump in, and they put us in the stream, in between the different presentations. And we've been doing a ton of those. And I think that will continue to happen because, international companies can now say, well, it's been working to do this virtually, so maybe we don't need to do our global, gathering quarterly. Maybe it's like a once a year thing. And now quarterly we do these virtual events. The worship venues have been doing similar things with streaming, which they've done for a long time. So it was just a slight transition for them.
They've been ahead of us, kind of feels like. I mean, corporate has been doing it, but yeah, I think they were before rock and roll, kind of. I mean, now when you think about it.
If you're in the video world, that it's definitely good if you haven't yet to expand into that and look at that as a specific service offering that you could start, providing. And not just videographers. Like I'm a producer that owns a recording studio. I wouldn't necessarily be the first person that you would think that would put together a live streaming production company. But we had all of the facility and an ability to be able to do it. So I just needed to learn this new type of equipment, and then it expanded our revenue streams within our production company quite a bit. So yes, I think that it would be great. But similarly to how you said that live streaming should not be in exchange for live concerts, I think that that's similar for videographers, because maybe the work that they're not getting on bigger shoots at the moment, that's all going to start to flow back in. And so I wouldn't necessarily say to ditch what you did before and just focus on this. But I think having it in your toolbox is definitely very valuable.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, basically, it would be a good idea to kind of sustain both and find a way to have a percentage share of that. And of course, then again, it comes down to, as you say, facility, not necessarily, you would have the capacity and the ability to do that, but you were fortunate too. You were actually having that. So I think it's a great thing to actually implement and have that, as you say, a selected crew of specialists, because as you and I probably know, Sean, it takes a very different understanding of camera centering, of editing, of basically following performers, following through what is happening on stage, what should be shown, what shouldn't be shown. I mean, to mention one stream that I saw a couple of months ago, actually, well, the camera work was very random. I mean, it so shows that no one ever worked with a live show. At a guitar solo, you all of a sudden see the backside of the stage. They're like small, simple things that, like, to us are obvious, but like, hey, I want to see exactly that. I mean, me, when I don't perform, when I'm out there at a show from first row, I literally stare for a couple of minutes. I watch the guys play. I watch their fingers. I want to check out what the hell are they doing over there. So, but yeah, in this case, it's kind of like, okay, let's look at the sky right now. And I go, no, come on. So it's kind of funny on that level. And as you say, it's a learning curve, right? Like none of us has done that before. The ones that did in corporate and in touring, of course, it was a small little element that now is on steroids, obviously. Lead me through the day of the streaming show when a live performer goes in. Do you guys rehearse a lot, like on the day, let's say, with the cues and the lights and the camera guys, or do you do that a couple of days earlier if you have a chance? How that does work?
It depends on the show and the size of the production. So we do live stream shows that range from singer-songwriter, guitar and vocal, or piano and and vocals, to a 6-7 piece band. So between that kind of depends on how the setup would go, and how the preparation would go, and then who the client is. So sometimes the client would be the artist themselves that's selling tickets to a show. Other times the client might be a company that's hiring the artist to perform at one of their events.
Right.
And then there's different organizations depending upon what that is. But we definitely do a setup and rehearsal and lighting check and all that beforehand. And then we do a kind of run of show depending upon the complexity of the show and who's involved with managing the entire event, whether it's just us or if there's multiple parties involved. And then there's often a test run before we go live, obviously to make sure that everything is is rocking and still working the same. But there's a good amount of prep, but I wouldn't necessarily say that there's a ton. And I might venture to say that it's a little less than would be at like tour preparation, for example. From the artist perspective, they're probably rehearsing a ton and preparing in that way. But from our perspective, we just set up the studio to capture the show, and then make sure that the signals are going where they need, make sure that the audio is sounding good, and then my director makes sure that we get the right cuts on the cameras when we need them, and directs the crew to make sure that they're getting the shot. So we capture the guitar solo when it's happening, and the singer when they're singing, and all of those sorts of things. And now we've done it for a while. It's a fairly streamlined operation. You get a good team around it, and you understand how to get things set up efficiently. And our rig doesn't stay set up because we're still a operating recording studio. So it's all remote. So we set it up and tear it down depending upon the event that we have going. And we have a pretty good system for getting it all together.
That's awesome. Wow, I had no idea that you're actually a full-on, live stream establishment. Heck, if the borders weren't closed, I would be probably over at your place doing my Rock Dance Theater live stream. Damn it!
Yeah.
What was the most challenging at the very first? Kind of was more the artist getting used to kind of, okay, the camera crew needs a second, or you guys need a second to kind of feed the sound system, the sound signal, excuse me, and the visual, and figuring out the technology and the streaming platforms? Or was it the other way around? Or was it a little bit of both, since, new setup, new situation kind of?
I would say it's mainly the technology, just kind of learning the different options, and the different formatting, and how to get the signal from one place to another, and how to get the things converted properly, and make sure that there's a consistent stream and signal, and and all of that. So more on the tech side. We do a lot of content creation in the studio already before we started doing live streaming. So as far as getting the look, set up and getting artists comfortable, that's something that we've done for years. So it was more the technology to figure out how to take that and now make it something that was happening live.
Right. Do you feel that venues would find actually an opportunity and a plus for their own businesses to kind of, let's say, even establish live streaming systems? The one that don't have them, of course. They just have crews, coming in with the band, and maybe the promoter books them or the artist books them, just to kind of have that as an extra reach out and feed of their show into the live streaming world. Do you think that the venues would be interested in, investing, first off? Because as we know, if we don't know what it's all about, it's usually about money and funds. But do you feel that venues would be up for that, to have that permanently for focus towards their own business and what is happening? Because of course you have a local audience, maybe an international audience when a tour comes through, or a show comes through, and an artist that is attractive and interesting for a fan base to head out to. But talk about the local ones that are basically, that's it. 9 to 5, 7 days a week.
Yeah, well, I definitely think that they should. I think that the idea that we kind of talked about before, about how fans are engaging with creatives in kind of an influencer sense, they want to be a part of their experience and really understand, who they are. So giving that as another option is great. I know that there's venues here in town that have not been able to book shows for a year. And there's a few that dove right into live streaming. And the only reason that they are still open is because they have live streaming as a revenue source. Yep. Otherwise, it would. I think there was one venue owner that may have been quoted in the press about saying that if it wasn't for that, they wouldn't be open. And so I think that that just for for right now, and as shows start to come back, if there's a venue that isn't doing that, I think that they're missing a really strong opportunity. But I think really the other thing is just to look into the future and see how that can extend into being able to sell more tickets if your venue is sold out, to be able to get people to be able to view a show if they can't get to the area where the show is happening, but they really love the band, and being able to offer an added level of content. This could be thought of similarly to when digital consoles started becoming more popular in mid-level venues. And when that happened, I saw, because we do a lot of remote recording, that at first venues didn't have any type of recording capability. We would bring in this truck or a big rig with a bunch of racks and have to physically plug in all of the equipment through a split. And then started to find over time that when venues started moving towards digital boards, they would offer as an added service to record the band's show, so they could either use it for something or just be able to listen back to it, and they could do that through the console itself. But not all venues started doing that right away, and then it became more common, and then many venues started adding like a full-fledged recording studio in their venue, so they could do full live album production. And that became something that you started to see more. And so I think that this will be a similar trend where a few early adopters will jump on and start to do it, and they'll hopefully benefit. As I've seen many venues, the few venues that I've seen that have really dove deep into that have benefited very well from it. And then I think that more venues will start to catch on later, and then it'll become something that you would almost expect to have in a venue.
Yeah, I mean, basically, I call myself a dreamer, a positively, realistic dreamer, but I would love to wait for a moment that basically governments acknowledge, the restaurant business, the venue business, that it has to stay open. It cannot host necessarily crowds, of course, or they need to operate at a minimum capacity in the transition mode, but basically that's where they kind of chip in to support and help. It's a long way towards that, because as we know, when cuts get introduced, the arts kind of suffer first, then the rest of the world continues. But it wouldn't be a bad idea if actually that across Europe, because again, it's kind of an uneven challenge to figure out. And some venues over here in Europe have implemented that, not directly and right away. It took a while to kind of figure that out. Germany has been pretty strong, and I was laughing that, oh my God, this is going to be like a streaming central of Europe. Basically, everybody is going to get over to Germany, and it's going to be folded up all of a sudden. But yeah, I think absolutely this could offer a completely new platform and level for artists to operate, because I think the biggest challenge right now is to get people indoors. Well, the outdoor shows in 2021 are going to be tricky when it comes to opening back. Well, summer is an opportunity for outdoor shows, and of course, good weather, everybody can hang out. All of the systems for physical distancing and kind of making shows safe again are a little bit easier. But before that happens, well, in Europe, it's like hardcore winter. I don't know how the climate is in Nashville over there right now. But yeah.
Right now.
Sorry?
I said it's snowing right now.
Oh, is it? Oh, crap. Same as here. Welcome to the club. Yeah, it's like 27 Fahrenheit. That's not enough. Yeah, what is your perspective, Sean, on live shows coming back, basically, this year and in the years to come? What would be the baby steps, kind of? I mean, Nashville, as you said, has been kind of fortunate not to have a lockdown, but the rest of the world has kind of been uneven. Some countries had it worse. Some countries had it better. So in terms of kicking this thing off into the live world, the live free world, if you will, what do you think is going to be the first plan, kind of?
Well, it looks like the first plans that are happening is doing these outdoor events where people are distanced and have their little like table set up or separate chairs separated apart, in a way. And I think that if concert promoters and artists are patient and responsible, that the larger events will start to come back probably quicker than if we're impatient and irresponsible. So keeping, and with my opinion of irresponsible, meaning like just not having any regulation and just telling thousands of people to go hang out,
Yeah.
with the assumption that based on statistics, something probably, negative would occur from that. So I think that the starting with what people are already kind of starting to do by having outdoor events with people separated out with precautions around that. And I think that's probably a good place to start. And then someone much more qualified than me will probably figure out what the next step is beyond that.
Yeah, I think it's a trial and error, basically. I mean, it is being said one versus the other is kind of uneven. And the questions are kind of out there because it's 2021 and, well, it's about time to kind of bring this thing up. Everyone was kind of, well, I don't want to say dormant in 2020, but no one really knew what was happening and how all of this is going to unwind. Of course, a year later, science is a little bit more knowledgeable about this virus, and still we all learn about new things and new streaks of it, and what are the complications and what are the challenges and venue planning and basically gathering of people, which is all what it's based on, right? And there is this question circling: what's going to happen next? The big tours or the smaller venues? The independents, the freelance, the indie and unsigned artists. We're talking about, let's say, the music world and everything else, theater or physical acts and acting and even movie shoots. Yeah, so it's kind of like which one wins the other. It's an interesting time basically right now to figure these things out, because as we all talk from a perspective, of course, of people from the industry working creatively, I think what is still lacking is kind of this discussion that was happening in NAMM, that actually people that are representatives on the government side, on the state line, on the foundation side, like all of that to be thrown together in a room. And of course, by that, I mean virtual for now, because gathering in big groups is not the safest thing to do these days. But I think that the awareness kind of is lacking a little bit of how the industry is complex and how many people are even behind the show when you have 1 or 2 or 3 or even 5 people on stage, but how many people are behind the stage and as crew, as backstage, and everything else. So what's your perspective on that?
Well, I think that the Recording Academy has done a really great job for our industry in advocating for all of those folks that have been out of work, like completely out of work. Like in the music recording industry, we've been really fortunate to be able to continue working. But the live performance side of things, those folks' jobs like totally disappeared, and there wasn't really like a shift they could make as much that would be as obvious. There's definitely shifts to make, but not as obvious as like some of the shifts that we made. And so the Recording Academy advocating for more support, at least in the United States, they've done a really great job at making sure that these new stimulus bills that are passed and stuff have support for venues, support for live show workers that are involved behind the scenes, and all of that. And I think that all governments should recognize the importance of that and support in the best way that they can, and look at that industry as as being one in need, that's in a maybe more severe spot than maybe some others that are also getting support. But you don't want to, as you mentioned, oftentimes the arts kind of gets cut first and and thought of last when it comes to those sorts of things. But someone that's job is to to set up stages for a living, their work disappears. I mean, to make sure that we're supportive of finding ways to be able to help them until things start to pick back up.
Yeah. There are very interesting campaigns and actually like movements and communities that are happening across the United States that I think Europe should very much learn from and kind of implement in their own. I mean, of course, the policies are a little bit different, the politics are different, and the ways that kind of shows operate. But I've been also talking to a colleague like literally last week, and we we agreed on the same thing, that whatever kind of happened between continents and between especially United States and Europe is very much intertwined. I mean, one affects the other. Basically, the industry is full of international workers, artists, and it's a whole global village, especially in our world. So actually, the division here already would be something to completely, you know, kind of wipe out, because it is connected. Whatever happens in a positive way rebounds couple of weeks, couple of months later, and is impacted by what is happening in culture, in touring, in live shows, especially in the live show industry that is happening over here. So basically, I learned over at NAMM about stage makers and about a couple of other folks that are having fantastic, you know, community work. They have fantastic resources, and they really literally bring everyone together. They file their petitions if they have to their local governors, and I think it's a question about leadership, really, and someone that has an idea, not starting their own kind of like a solo project and starting with that, but actually joining in a bigger community, a bigger foundation, a bigger organization, because that's, to be honest, where the impact is. If you have thousands and hundreds and millions of voices all of a sudden on a piece of paper or legislature, then a couple of individuals sort of like in Hyde Park screaming about, you know, their rights, their needs, their, you know, will to work, that's where the impact comes from. So that, I think, I especially observed over at NAMM, like how much of that is established, but still the information doesn't circulate. Funny enough, in the 21st century, why do you think still, as we are in 2021, what do you think is the main challenge? And I always call it a challenge because that kind of feels like, you know, a project to take on, about resources and information exchange and that community circulation, so that the word gets across and gets forwarded across, so that everybody knows, everybody joins in, chips in, and basically, you know, call to action. Let's go.
Absolutely. Well, I love the fact that you like to use the word challenge, because I do as well, for the same reason, because things that are hard are just hard, but challenges we can overcome. Yeah. And I think that's incredible. It makes me happy to have someone have that same spirit.
Air turtle.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that what you mentioned is just, you know, what we can continue to do is to spread the word, and the more that people talk about it, you know, the more that it will be, that people will have awareness around it. And if there's ways that there's a specific community that someone might be in that isn't really advocating for as much of that stuff, to be able to bring it to those types of groups where people would be, you know, aware of it. So I think it's just us working together in the great community that we have in the entertainment and creative industries, to just continue to share that information, and then to support organizations like in the U.S., the Recording Academy, that advocates for us in Congress. Yeah,
absolutely. It's funny. I actually had a week ago, Janine Diaz, which was also a speaker over at NAMM. She's a podcaster and full on, you know, tour supporter and well-being holistic coach. And we were talking about the same thing. And I loved the way she wrapped it up. Basically, it's time to stop being an egoist. It's time to start working together. And I love that, because like, however much, you know, everybody is pushing their own, you know, rock and roll wagon, if you will, air quote, it's exactly that. It's kind of not being an individual these days, because we have been kind of individual, I feel, at least personally, in 2020, where we all were faced with challenges, how to reorganize and reprogram our life, how to kind of go forward. But 2021 is about action. So basically, what he said. Tell me, Sean, what would be the resource list kind of for all of the good things that you do over in Nashville? Because of course, this is one of these you know, call to action live streams, but to shamelessly plug what you are doing with your studio, with your live streams, what are the couple of places, even online, that folks can head on to after our talk?
Instagram is probably a great way to be able to kind of engage with the community and see all the kind of cool events that we have going there. And we try to share some insight on kind of what we're doing and show people behind the scenes, what's happening. And that's just at the Record Shop Studios on Instagram. And for people that are interested more in like the facility itself and the type of work that we do, the recordshopnashville.com.
Awesome. What's on your nearest schedule list, Sean, in terms of creative project, album mixing, talks, motivational seminars, and all of that good stuff? What's happening in February for you?
Yeah, all of that every day. Yeah.
I don't need to ask.
Yeah, we do all of that throughout the week, which is the beauty of what I really enjoy about how my career has kind of evolved in being a record producer and also the owner of a production company, and then getting into mentorship and advocacy and that sort of stuff. My schedule is really well balanced with creative stuff on the producer side and project management stuff on like the production company side, and then education and teaching and workshops and that sort of thing on the mentorship and community side. So my week is pretty well organized throughout the week between all of those things, and that's what I would kind of just do day from day or day to day, and really enjoy it.
That's awesome. It's funny that you use the word mentorship, because I actually set together this little performance mentorship program, which is of course live. Normally I would teach it in a workshop filled with at least 50 people, bumping elbows and kicking themselves in the heads. But you got me with an idea here. I think we should teach a seminar together on mentorship. 3 dots, whatever that might be. I'll hit you up after the stream because cool. Yeah, I got a light bulb situation happening. Nice. Okay. Well, basically, guys, I think we should leave it at that. Creativity, 3 dots. When you work, and this is on the educational side, as we wrap this discussion up, what are your 3 kind of sentences of wisdom when you work with young artists, with people, up and coming in the industry, in the business, that want to perform, they want to write songs, they want to record, they want to put on a live show, all of that. How would you engage the young generation right now to kind of keep going and, finding their own in this crazy world? Absolutely.
Well, I think the first question that you have to ask yourself when you're diving into that is, what do you want to accomplish? And that may be a answer that right away you're like, I want to be a superstar. That's great, but think
everybody wants to be a rock star, right? Come on.
Right. Kevin Hart says everybody wants to be famous, but nobody wants to put the work in. So my second question when someone says what they want to do is, how bad do you want to do that? And if that isn't a 10, then there's a fairly good possibility that if your goal is a superstar, that's probably not going to be possible. The reason for that is that 0.2% of people that chase a career in the entertainment industry become superstars. So you got to be better than 98.8% of the other people that are going after the same thing. And that can sound a little heavy and and almost negative in a way, but
no, I think it's the truth.
I think it provides truth, but also optimism for how bad do you want it, and then making that commitment and agreement with yourself. Because if you decide that that's something that you want to go for, and that's how you're going to spend the time that you have on earth being focused towards, and you know that your intention is to work harder and more focused and persistent than 98% of the people around you, then that can give you a lot of motivation to keep going through it. And then after you've made that agreement and you've decided that's the path that you're going to take, what is the purpose behind why you want to get there? And I think that that's incredibly important, because in my experience, at least, I found that I needed to have a purpose that was greater than my goals and greater than myself to be able to push through that adversity, even though I tell myself that I want it more than anybody else. When you keep getting kicked in the face, you got to, how do you keep getting up if you don't have something that's just totally beyond and and bigger than you? So I think taking time to figure that out is really important. What is that purpose? What that purpose became for me was to be able to help creatives achieve their artistic vision and create art that outlasts us. And that was a very specific combination of words that expresses exactly what I get fulfilled through with the work that I do. once you determine that purpose, you know what you want to accomplish and why you want to accomplish it, then I think the last step of that is to proceed with patient persistence forever.
And practice.
If you can do
practice.
Exactly, yeah. That patient and persistence is exactly that. It's putting in the work to practice. It's putting in the work to develop, to learn, to listen, to seek mentorship, to grow, and to just keep evolving and keep going down your creative journey. And if you can do those things, then I think that you can find fulfillment within your creative endeavor, regardless of what that is. But I think that those are the building blocks to get there. And then while you're on that process, recognizing that it really is about the experiences and the process of getting there more than it is that final destination that you're ending up at. Because each great milestone that you reach in your career and great thing that you accomplish is going to feel awesome in the moment, but you're only a winner in the moment of winning. And then at that point, you have to find the next battle to push towards, the next thing to grow towards, to be able to keep that excitement and motivation, towards it.
That's awesome.
And so just recognizing that it's really about the creative journey and the artistic process, and that's what you can find, fulfillment in. And I think if you combine those things together, it's pretty tough to not have a really wonderful life in creating art.
That's awesome. I mean, why I'm constantly smiling when you said that, because like I knew you would be the perfect person in discussion, like on a Monday on 1st of February, purely because like I totally think the same. Like I love the process, the way getting there. Like when I'm kind of there with anything, I feel, I don't know about you, I feel almost sad that it's kind of like, it's over. That's why I need to have like a million projects around and not just one, which is, very much sometimes criticized, like, why aren't you sticking just on one thing? Like, because I just love doing stuff, and I love having creative outlets, and it's just like spidering out kind of, and as many, as I can, of course, not to jeopardize, the time and the effort and anything. But yeah, what you said. So basically, guys, you heard it. Now go do your homework. We still have a lot of time in quarantine, so figure those things out. And of course, if you have questions, can people hit you up on the mentorship thing as well, or any other new projects that are happening?
Yeah, 100%. So the whole reason that I do this is because I was agree to have conversations like this, not only because you're an awesome person and great to hang out with, but because I really enjoy sharing the experiences that I've had. And when I was starting out and when I was seeking that, and still to this day, I seek out information and mentorship from others. So I've made it a point in my career to always have my door open, my email, my phone available if I can support someone. If someone comes to me with a clear intention of what they want to accomplish and they need some guidance and direction on how to get there, I'm happy to take the time to help and support. And to get in touch with me, you can use social media or my website. There's an email, and the message will get directed towards me, and I will always respond to anyone that's looking for help. So don't hesitate to reach out and let me know what I can do to help you.
Awesome. There you go, guys. Sean Giovanni over at the record shop. Wait, hang on. I got all mixed up. The record shop. Damn it. I knew almost I would have made it. So guys, you can find Sean over there and in person, obviously in Nashville if you're passing through. Check out his facility and his location. And also, guys, if you're interested on any of performing arts mentorship programs, reach out as well to both of us, Rock Dance Theater on all social medias. And basically, guys, stay connected. And if you do have questions, if you do not know what your objective is and what the trajectory should be, ask others. Ask people that have been long in this industry, that have tons of experience, are probably more than willing to share that with you, even if it's shooting an email or a DM on Instagram. Those people are really out there, and probably they have a lot of time on their hands still in February 2021. So do that, guys. All right. This has been so much fun, Sean. I could like hang out with you and, talk records, talk this and that. I would love to have you on a part 2 sometime in the future. Yeah. If you have the time and the ability, and if Wi-Fi did not die yet from abuse. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you so much for joining us today. Hit all of the subscribe buttons, and I'll take a sip of coffee while you do so I don't hear the clicks. All right, done? Good. See you later, guys. My special guest has been Sean Giovanni today. I have been Rock Dance Theater. And as always,